So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for braving the elements to get here to Stonehill College and the Meehan School of Business. My name is Chris Cooney. I'm president of Metro South Chamber of Commerce, and it's just a joy to see you all here and experiencing this building yourself. We started in 2019, right before the pandemic, and we'll hope to have an event here. And here it is after the pandemic and finally making our way. So it's nice to be here and nice to have all of you here to see what a wonderful new addition to the community and to the campus that we have. So we're especially pleased to gather here at Stonehill College, and in particular the Leo Meehan School of Business, a place that represents leadership, education, and strong ties to the business community. The Meehan School is named, of course, for Leo Meehan, a proud Stonehill graduate, longtime chamber member and CEO of W.B. Mason. Many of us know W. Mason by its simple but powerful tagline, "Who but W.B. Mason," right? And many of us, when we think we need office supplies, we call W.B. Mason. But the tagline goes beyond that. It reflects the company's reliability, community values, and long-standing partnership with businesses across the region. It's fitting that we're here today in a space that honors that legacy. And if you have a chance before you go, take a look at the history of W. Mason and Leo's connection to this campus where he graduated and sold office supplies while he worked his way through college. I want to extend a sincere thank you to John Dugan, Dean of the Meehan Business School, also Professor Katie Curl-Dykeman, Director of the Joseph Martin Institute, who is our usual host, and that's a wonderful building too, and Doug Smith, Vice President of Advancement at Stonehill College, for their generous support and partnership in making today's program possible. Please join me in a round of applause for all of them. Today's program brings together several important conversations. We'll begin with two short interviews highlighting community impact and workforce development in the HR space. We didn't just lose power. Okay. No. We'll then move into a timely and practical HR law and compliance panel focused on key trends employers should be monitoring as the new year comes about. We'll conclude the program with remarks from State Senator Michael Rodrigues, Chair of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, who plays a leadership role in shaping the Commonwealth's economic and fiscal priorities. Before we move forward, I want to point out the green sheets, pages on your in front of you. If you have a question for the senator, please write it out and just hold it up. A chamber ambassador or staff member will come over and grab it, and we'll ask it at the time when we have time. And as time allows, we'll ask as many questions as possible. Okay. So we have a very full agenda, so I encourage you to continue to enjoy your lunch while this is a working lunch at a business school, so it's perfectly acceptable to keep on eating right through the program. That's how we want to design this to make best use of all of your time. It is now my pleasure to introduce our MC, someone deeply connected to Stonehill College and today's program. Please join me in welcoming Doug Smith, Vice President of Advancement at Stonehill College. Doug.
Thank you, Chris. On behalf of Stonehill College, I really want to welcome you here today to the Leo J. Meehan School of Business at Stonehill College. For how many folks, is this your first time you visited Stonehill College? Just raise your hands. And how about this building? Have you been in here before? So welcome. It is a new treat. For those of you who are not familiar, Stonehill College was founded in 1948. We're affiliated with the Congregation of Holy Cross, which are a group of priests, most famously known for founding the University of Notre Dame. But we like to call Notre Dame the Stonehill of the West. So every time we see a Stonehill, Notre Dame alum out there, I tell them it's the Stonehill of the West. But we're delighted to have you here today. And I'll echo Chris's comments. Thank you for coming out. I know it's cold. I know the weather is really tough. The driveways and parking lots, negotiating that to get here. But we're really happy to have you here. And I hope you're able to come again in the future for other chamber events or just chances to visit the campus. But before we begin, I'd like to recognize several individuals who helped make today and the Chamber's work possible. First, I'd like to introduce our Chamber ambassadors who are in attendance. And I'll begin with Rico McNeil from Bluestone Bank. For a wave. Jose Camacho from Dedham Savings Bank. Congratulations. Thanks for being here. Joanne Schneider, Eastern Bank. Marcy Vencia from Gleeworks. Marcy. Felicita Sepulveda from the Cape Verdean Association of Brockton. If I mispronounce that name, Chris will give you $100 afterwards. Just going to Mary Ellen Baker from HR Alternatives. And we'll get from Mary Ellen later on today as well. Armindo Roca, I can't quite read the. Armindo Roca from Oklahoma Revenue Services. And Catherine Light from Eastern Bank. Thank you all for being here today. We're also pleased to welcome Chamber Board members Greg Hart. Greg is a CPA with Center Street Financial, and Mike Lambert. Mike's snuck in, he's sick. He has sick day because of the cold. So sick, okay. We're also honored to be joined by elected and state officials, including Senator Michael Brady. There's a very famous, legendary story that when you were a state rep, you had a constituent call saying that her driveway was stuck, right, full of snow, and you rushed down there to shovel it out. Michael has retired from shoveling driveways as a state senator. That's right. So please don't call him to shovel your driveway if you're in the senator's district. Brockton City Councilor Shirley Asak. And Jennifer Menard of MOBD. And our keynote speaker, Senator Michael Rodriguez, who we'll hear from in a little bit. Welcome, Senator. So thanks for being here today with us. We really appreciate it. We'd like to begin today with a brief interview focused on community development and the role of Rockland Federal Credit Union plays in strengthening the local economy. Please join me in welcoming Francia Montero of Rockland Federal Credit Union. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we'll begin with a brief interview focused on community development and the role of Rockland Federal Credit Union plays in strengthening the local economies. Can you begin by just telling us a little bit about Rockland Federal Credit Union for folks who may not be aware of the credit union?
Absolutely. So Rockland Federal Credit Union was established in 1922. It started off as a member co-op financial institution, and then in 1985 it did become a federally chartered credit union. Since then, assets have grown to over $3.4 billion with 9 branch locations. We are currently in the middle of a merger with Community Credit Union that will not only expand our footprint into the North Shore of Massachusetts, but it will also add 3 branches for a total of 12 in between South and North Shore of Mass. Yeah. And I also want to mention, so Rockland Federal Credit Union was actually rated number 2 as the fastest growing credit union in the state of Massachusetts. And to me, that's just an incredible feat. So I'm happy to be a part of it all.
Congratulations, that's great. Community development. So how does community development work support the credit union's overall business and its growth strategy?
Absolutely. So community development, it's really there to strengthen, the trust and the long-term relationships, not only with current members, but also with future members. It really puts us in a place to let them know that we are interested in their financial well-being. So when the credit union starts pouring into programs that support financial inclusion, housing stability, local economic resilience, people become more financially confident. And what ends up happening is they start taking advantage of all the products and services that we have to offer. In the end, this will lead to deeper engagement, stronger loyalty, and sustainable membership growth. And it really reinforces the credit union's identity in the community, that we are a mission-driven financial institution that balances community impact with responsible business expansion.
That's Great, thank you. And what types of community partnerships, tend to be the most successful?
So of course, partnerships that we really look for are those that are built around shared goals, clear expectations, and measurable outcome. We prioritize organizations whose mission aligns with our mission of serving the undeserved, low to moderate income earners, and people that live in communities that are majority minority. Designated areas, those are always going to be more attractive. Also, any organization that offers the opportunity for volunteerism, or the opportunity to co-host a workshop, those are going to be impactful, so we always gravitate towards those. It will deepen, or organizations who will help us deepen the visibility in the community and help us reach the individuals that really can benefit best from what we have to offer.
Thank you. And how do you measure success? How do you know that it works?
So, we do track both community and business outcomes, obviously, just to be able to fully understand the value of our work. On the community side, we do focus on metrics such as financial education participation, housing stability support, and really the outreach of the nonprofits that we have partnered with. Also, on the business side, we do monitor member growth, we monitor product adoption and brand awareness, and also the long-term relationship strength. Combining these measures ultimately will help us ensure that our investments are meaningful, mission aligned, and that they're really contributing to sustainable membership growth.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nancy. We appreciate it. I have a gift. Hold on. This is our famous chamber pen. Inside 2 Super Bowl tickets. Fooled you. Thank you. Next, we'll shift focus on educating human resource professionals and preparing them to respond to employer needs. It's something that we're very excited about at Stonehill, as we have just launched a new program. And we would like to interview Professor Peter Langton, who's a professor of management, data analytics, and human resources here at Stonehill College. He's also a proud alum, and we are very proud of him as well. So please welcome Peter Langton. How are you doing today?
Excellent, thanks.
That's good. Peter, this is my burning question. I know the answer, but I'll ask it anyway. Why did Stonehill believe a major in talent and HR management is appropriate at this time?
I think we've looked at HR, and over the years that HR was the place you started and the place you ended, and they collected the forms. And over the years, that's changed. So today, HR is part of your strategic partner. It helps drive the culture of your organization. And I think that fits in if we think about what Stonehill is trying to do and train our leaders of tomorrow who lead with purpose. Having HR as part of that makes a lot of sense. I always talk to our students and say, your first task is Google good products that failed. And when we Google good products that failed, we find out they failed because people made mistakes. If you think of the Betamax, if you think of Blockbuster, so many great organizations, great products, they failed because somewhere along the line we had the wrong people doing the wrong things. And HR is getting the right people doing the right things. And that fits into our strategy and our mission with Stonehill, and it's time to add that as part of our business curriculum.
So if someone goes through the program and graduates, what will they learn? What are the core competencies that they will graduate with to bring to the workforce?
Yeah, they're going to be the most valuable people that you are going to hire. There's 3 things I think that Stonehill does very effectively. Our curriculum is based on 3 major components. Number 1, we have our Stonehill core curriculum that teaches our students to be thinkers in a global society, in an ethical society, and they take classes to expand the way that we view the world. Second, they come into the business school, and we have our core strategy and our core curriculum that expands the way we think about business, and we don't think about business just from our major. So accounting majors certainly learn very valuable skills in accounting, but we also learn about organizational behavior, and we learn about the places that our students are visiting and the way that they interact with the world. So our core curriculum generates a broad way to look at business. And then finally, our HR curriculum. So the major to become an effective HR manager and professional focuses in on how do we develop cultures, how do we develop the best plans, the best compensation plans. So we get into the nitty-gritty, everything from the things that we deal with on a daily basis, from recruiting, strategy, development, and the whole lifelong experience an employee has from the time they enter to the time that they retire from your organization.
Sounds exciting. And when will our first graduating class be? So will be...
We will have one individual who will graduate this year. We kind of fast-tracked him into the program. The program launched for the class of 2028. So for 2026 and 2027, those that were along the path, we were able to kind of balance them. So we will have our first graduate this year who's available in the market. And,
we'll start the bidding at what, 75,000? Thank you. How can the community and chamber organizations, support the program, get involved? What could any?
We'll hire Nate.
Hire
Is
Nate,
your first
okay.
task. I think part of what we do at Stonehill and part of what we do in the business school and part of what we're doing in HR is reaching out to our community. So number one, what can you do? Hire our graduates. Number two is provide an internship for our graduates. We want to partner with you so that you're helping us train our future leaders. So if you can take an intern, contact me. We have great students that are looking to get experience. And the third one that we're really excited about is in part of our classes, we're reaching out to community organizations, and we want to help you with some of your business problems. If you think of like your goals and your strategy, number one, number two, number three, you're probably working on. And if you're like me, number five was always, I want to resource that, but I don't have the time or the resources to do it. Well, come work with us. We'll help you with that fifth goal, and we'll put a team on it. So I have a class right now in talent acquisition and development. We are working with 5 organizations, and we're going to help them solve one of their business problems. We're working with the Boys and Girls Club, and we're going to help develop an onboarding program for their part-time employees. So if you have an issue that you think, I'd love to solve it, I don't have the resource, contact me. We'll put a team on it, and we will go through the process of assessing, coming up with solutions, and providing you an end product.
That's great. Thank you, Peter. Small token of our appreciation.
Well, John's my boss. He said I was getting a raise for class.
Now, I should learn to bring the pen with me, so I have to jump off the chair to bring the pen over, but there you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for today's HR Law and Compliance panel, John Dugan, who is the Dean of the Leo J. Meehan School of Business. Welcome, John. And please join me in welcoming our panelists. Your pictures are up there. It's like a mugshot. So yeah, there's no escaping now. Mary Ellen Baker from SHRM of HR Alternatives. Come on up, Mary. Allison Amador. All right, thank you. Of PHR, SHRM-CP at TriNet. Welcome. Stephanie Messina Seawade. All right. Who has her MBA, SHRM-CP with Luke Jackson Benefit HR Solutions, and Michael J. Macaro, correct? Yep. Who is with Murphy, Hennessy, Toomey, and Lahane LLP. Please welcome our panelists. And I'll turn the program over to John.
Everybody can hear me okay? Yeah. So I am actually going to stand behind this so if you see me start to jitter, it's because I want to walk around a lot. So welcome, my name is John Dugan. I have the pleasure to serve as the Dean of the Leo J. Meehan School of Business. This is my second year as Dean of the School of Business. Just for a little context, the Meehan School of Business is AACSB accredited, which is less than 6% of business schools worldwide. We have about 915 undergraduate students in the business school and about 100 graduate students in the business programs. So it's really great to have you all here. We have a short time together. We have 4 panelists, so we want to make sure that we keep on schedule. I want to get started right away. Obviously the bios are in the pictures, in the handouts that you have over here, and our panelists will briefly introduce themselves as we get started. But we're going to start with Mary Ellen Baker from HR Alternatives. Mary Ellen, so we're a month into the new year. What would you say are the topics that are front of mind for you and your clients as we look forward to the rest of 2026?
Yeah, it's a great question, John. Thank you for the introduction and facilitating. And Chris, thanks for the opportunity to hopefully share some insight with fellow members. HR Alternatives is a human resources consulting and management coaching partnership with Jane Callahan. So our clients tend to be on the smaller side, typically about 150 employees or less, where managers are typically wearing multiple hats, trying to implement some new organizational structures or formalize procedures around new policies and often expanding their management team. So we do a lot of work with new supervisors. And so at the forefront of our clients' minds going into 2026, we're hearing a lot of conversations around identifying skills and developing skills over the course of your employee's life cycle. Starting with the recruiting, interviewing, and selection process, there's much conversation around identifying skills through pre-screening tests, whether you're trying to test for a specific skill, knowledge area, or ability. And some key takeaways that I would give to employers would be to just check for any unconscious bias in that pre-screening test, as well as be transparent to your candidates on what you're testing for, how that test is being factored into the overall hiring decision. And then if you're using any sort of software to track the candidates' test scores, just be aware of the data privacy concerns for that. And then continuing through the employee life cycle, especially since the pay transparency law went into effect last fall, there's plenty of conversation around pay, and supervisors are having conversations with individuals on why their pay falls where it does within a pay range. And so again, tying it all back to skills, the first key takeaway I would give to employers is think about who in your organization is having those conversations and make sure that they have the training necessary to have a fruitful conversation with individuals on their team. Coach them to avoid generalizations. For example, you might hear, you'll get there in time, you just don't have enough experience yet. Or, that person may have just been a better fit and you'll get there too. And really focus on specific demonstratable knowledge, skills, and abilities that that person can use to facilitate their growth within your organization. Help them identify training opportunities, shadowing opportunities within your organization, maybe even some mentorship opportunities within your organization. Those are some really easy things and low-cost things that you and your supervisors can be focusing on when conversations around pay ranges come into play. And they tie, if you're focused on skills and demonstratable knowledge, skills, and ability, again, that ties further into the employee life cycle, into performance management. And so working, again, with your supervisors, making sure they're trained to give and receive feedback in real time, and that they feel comfortable offering constructive criticism, encouragement, or reinforcement, helping your new supervisors understand the benefits of soft skills, such as how to use personal influence to encourage an employee first, and then if necessary, following up with professional influence. An example of that might be, Mary, you're a great asset to the team, you do these things really well. I'm noticing that you keep turning your projects in late, and that has this impact on the business. How can I help you change how can I help you manage your time more effectively? And start from a personal approach before you show up at Mary's office and say, Mary, I'm not doing my job if I don't hold you accountable. You need to get me that report yesterday. And really offer them some valuable feedback. And I do love a deadline. So, and then, continuing on through the employee life cycle, working with your managers again, helping them understand, not all of your employees can be promoted to the top of the org chart, but there are ways we can retain staff and help them feel valued and provide them with growth opportunities. So giving them feedback in real time, focusing on skills development. And then when you get to the annual performance review, certainly you can have a conversation around the extent to which job expectations are being met. But hopefully there's no surprises there. And then the performance process won't just be passively checking a box, grading the last 12 months, but instead you can focus the conversation around what are the team objectives, here's how you, as an individual contributor, can move forward within those objectives. And then lastly, training those supervisors again on how and when they should document any conversation around performance. And so yeah, conversations around identifying skills and developing new reports really help with retention and growth and employee satisfaction within your workplace.
That's great. Growth and employee satisfaction, I think, is top of the list for everybody. So Allison Emmer from TriNet, tell us a little bit about TriNet and what types of best practices do you recommend to your clients at the start of the year? How can businesses, including the folks in this room and watching on the TV, how can they prepare themselves to meet compliance requirements with changes in regulatory?
Hello? All right. Yes. My mic is on. Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction. And it was great to hear Mary talk as well. We're going to talk about some similar themes today. My name is Allison Amador, and I am the manager of HR compliance at TriNet. And if you're not familiar with what TriNet is, you may already have a flyer at your seat. We are a professional employer organization, or you may hear that referred to as a PEO. And what that really means is just really a long title to talk about, that we support with HR scope of services as a co-employer with our clients. And when I'm talking about scope of services, I mean we support with payroll. We support with HR expertise, we support with HR administration, risk mitigation, including workers' comp, and we also do support with access to a benefits platform, and we all do that between with our proprietary technology platform for all of those items. And so, yeah, we cover a wide scope of items, and of course, my role is focused on HR compliance, and we have experts throughout all of these areas to help support you. So one of the key best practices I do always recommend at the start of the year is to do a compliance check-in. There's a couple of reasons. One is that there could be a lot of compliance impacts at the start of the year, and I'm talking about all areas of compliance: payroll, retirement, benefits, HR compliance. And also, it's always a good idea to have a cadence to just check in on where you are with existing compliance requirements, right? Hey, have we taken, care of all the compliance requirements we should have already looked at? Maybe there's some items that we need to remind ourselves of. So that's a recommendation I have. And I recommend, whether you're working with us or whoever provider, whatever HR services or consultant you're working with, to check in with them just to make sure that what actions are they taking, right? What actions should you be taking? Are your needs being met? It just really helps ensure that you have a smooth start of the year as you move forward. And again, helps you have that cadence of, hey, let me make sure that I'm meeting all these requirements. So TriNet, we do support with that through our services. We can support with talking you through the HR aspects of it, what we're doing, how we can support you. But again, even if you're not with us, I absolutely recommend whatever your provider is, whoever your providers are, go ahead and check in with them on this. Because we're talking about some compliance examples and impacts today, but certainly there are more. So best practice, check in, make sure that you're in step with whomever you're working with. So I do want to, like Mary, talk a little bit about some examples of items that we want to take a look at, and I think it's worth it to talk about pay transparency again, because you're right, it's one of those requirements that is newly in effect, and so you want to keep in mind that it is if you are a business that has 25 or more employees in the state of Massachusetts, you should now be, as of October 2025, providing pay transparency information on all your job postings. So if you aren't doing that, make sure that you go back and take a look at that, because it is a requirement. And employers of 100 or more employees, there's also pay data reporting requirements. So again, if this is news to you, you might want to go back to your organization, make sure that you're all set with those two items. Some practical tips I have on that as well. I think training is great. Also, make sure that you're looking at, are there any old job postings out there that I shouldn't have out there anymore? Make sure that that's not there. Potentially do some compensation benchmarking. We can help support that as an additional service through TriNet. And so make sure that you're really taking a look at that. And compensation benchmarking is something that can help make sure you're competitive as well. So we talked a lot about the business. So there's the compliance aspect, but then there's also, am I being competitive? But also, are you being fair? And are you not being biased? We talked about biases earlier. And then just really quick, also do recommend looking at any family leave requirements. So for example, the Massachusetts paid family leave, right? Are you providing notices timely? The weekly benefit amount did change this year on January 1, which means that any employees who, or independent contractors, if they're covered, are going to be, they should have had a notice provided to them 30 days prior to January 1. So just a couple of those items I recommend checking in on. And lastly, want to mention that we're talking a lot about Massachusetts today, of course, but we understand that your business can have employees in other locations. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at that multi-state compliance if you are in other states. Other states, including their cities and counties, can have additional requirements, and those requirements don't always match. So just 3 examples we talked about today: time off, pay transparency, right, paid family leave. Just because there's a requirement here in Massachusetts doesn't mean it matches the requirement, for example, in California. So it's always a great idea to work with whomever you're working with to do a multi-state review. Again, TriNet can support with that. If you do have more questions for us today on that, Mary Jo Lawless is our contact, who is on, she's a member of this chamber, so you're gonna see her quite a bit. You probably have already started to see her quite a bit. And she's definitely here to help support with more questions, so. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. Stephanie and Christina Suede from Luke Jackson. So tell us a little bit about what Luke Jackson does, but also talk us through some of the methods that you're seeing employers provide employees with a comprehensive benefits package, paid time off, stuff like that, while managing costs like health insurance premium increases and strategies with higher deductible plans.
Okay, so Chris told me 5 minutes, I could talk for 5 hours. Thank you, John, for the introduction. Chris, thank you for the opportunity. Luke Jackson Benefits and HR Solutions is a privately owned consulting practice. We are HR consultants, and we're also benefit brokers, and we sell health insurance and all the insurances to our groups. We're located across the street, right here. Our brick and mortar is right across the street, and the building's across from Stonehill College. I manage the HR practice, but I do a lot on the benefit side because I like the benefit side more. So I don't have to tell anyone in the room that 2025 was a crazy year for premium increases, and everyone has felt what I call the culture shock. There are ways that companies have taken mitigation and risk transfer so that their premiums are not as high. One of the recommendations that we give our clients basically is, if you're going to go for that higher deductible or you want a lower premium for the monthly premium for your health insurance expense, etc., what to do is offer a back-funded HRA. So you're putting some skin in the game, but they can be getting a $4,000 deductible, but then you're back funding that $1,000. First of all, it's tax-free. It's a deduction to you, and you're probably going to see a reduction in your premiums. A lot of our clients are taking that advantage every single day, especially this year. What we've seen, we have so many clients that are in health insurance. What we've seen in the small group market, the premiums were not that bad. We didn't see the culture shock of 10% across the boards. Some of them were 4%, one client got 2%. So it was really in that 51 to 100 market, or 100 plus. 100 plus, they automatically look at claims because you're a large employer. But in that 51 to 100, we've seen the health plans look at claims this year. I mean, when we've pushed back and said, what are you talking about, a 27% increase? They come back with information, which is very rare. First of all, for the HIPAA, but also, I think they are looking at the culture shock on companies. And the other thing too is, what we say to our clients is, we go out to bid on your health insurance, and whoever you use as a broker, etc., you should require them to go out to bid with anything over a 5% increase. Look and see what's out there. Mass General Brigham Health Plan is growing, and they have cut some of their rates. We've seen them in the small group market. So talk to your broker if he's not going out every single year and saying, hey, did you look at the other two health plans, including your dental plans? We've seen increases in dental plans this year. And we've gone out to bid, and some of them have decreased. The other thing I think I want to also talk about that Chris was really interested in was ICHRAs. Does anyone in here know what an ICHRA is? No? Okay. So I'm going to give you the short version. Okay. ICHRAs are the newest source of funding that really started on the West Coast and is moving east. It's called an individual coverage HRA. So what it is that you fund the employee's premium by giving them a certain dollar amount. You can offer a health insurance plan with it, but usually most companies that do ICHRAs do not fund another health insurance plan. And what I would do is you give them a certain tax-free money. They go and buy their plan wherever they want to. So you have a set dollar amount every year that you're going to be giving them. One, it has to follow the minimum coverage, and that's what we do. We set up your premiums so that they do fall into the minimum coverage. But also, two, it gives cost control to buying your insurance, and it also gives what I call customization. Some of the biggest hurdles, teaching your employees how to buy insurance, health insurance. They've never done it. So we started actually Luke Jackson was the first broker to do it in Massachusetts, because we had a company that had 2 years of close to 30% increases. So we did it. And now, this year alone, in 2025, there's been a 34% increase across the country in companies offering ICHRAs instead of traditional health insurance. You have my contact information, I believe. More than happy to talk to you about it. It's not a one-size-fits-all. We manage a slew of ICHRAs now because we're out there doing it. It's really easy to educate if you have the right tools in place, and it is compliant with the way the federal government says you have to offer health insurance today. And more than happy, Chris has my email, Jack email, info@lukejacksoncorp.com. We'll get to either Jack or myself, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And last but not least, Michael from Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. Michael, we've talked about issues facing employers and HR managers in 2026. Where do you see areas of risk or pitfalls that could catch companies off guard and HR managers off guard? Can you talk us through some of the challenges employees are facing with regard to things we've sort of talked about, FMLA, data privacy, multi-generational workforce, this things like that?
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. First of all, thank you to the Chamber for having me, and thank you to Stonehill College. What a beautiful room this is. Also great to sit here on the panel, and good to go last, because these three experts here have hit on a lot of great things, and I'll touch on some of the things that they've spoken on in a moment. So I'm a labor and employment attorney with Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. We are a full-service law firm located in Braintree and represent clients all around New England, in the area and national as well. I spend most of my day counseling employers, folks like yourselves, on matters that come up on a daily basis. And that can be everything from compliance that you've talked to personnel matters. Speaking to some of you beforehand, I know some of you have seen me speak, and you know I'm passionate about labor law. That's how I spend a lot of my time. As we sit here today thinking about some of the things that face employers, I'm usually telling people what's going on at the National Labor Relations Board. Whether you know it or not, most of the people in here work for private employers. The National Labor Relations Act applies to you, whether or not you have unionized employees or not. Anyone who's come see our annual labor employment update, usually in April, hears me give this update. I'm going to here to tell you right now, I'm going to give you a little advance notice. Not a lot happened last year because we had a change in administration and we've had a National Labor Relations Board that was really not working. It didn't have a quorum. So you have all of these laws on the federal level that apply to all of you that have kind of been in flux. What are people doing? So I think when the new administration came in a year ago, we've spent a lot of time dealing with laws that were very pro-employee, and that could be difficult for employers to kind of figure out, well, what do we do with our handbooks and our workplace policies? And there was an expectation that that might come back. We haven't seen that yet. I think looking ahead in 2026, now that we've got some new board members on there, we'll see some of that. So as you sit here at the beginning of the year trying to give some best practice tips as to what you can do as employers, one of the things that, you know, to kind of echo some of what my panelists have said is take a look at your policies, all right? Start with your employee handbook if you have one, all right? The reason why I point you to that is, in addition, speaking on the federal level here, we've seen with this new administration, we're a year in, there's been shifting priorities. And you've seen that at levels like on the EEOC. Some of you might have seen recently that the EEOC and this new administration rescinded some guidance about workplace harassment. And people say, wait a minute, is workplace harassment, is that legal now? Of course not, okay? It's just rescinded on guidance, but what you're seeing is a shifting priority. What are these federal agencies? What are their focus going to be, all right? And so when you're looking at what the agencies are going to look at, that says to you as an employer, what should I do? You know, I mentioned the EEOC a moment ago. Here on the state level, you have the MCAD. All right, the MCAD right now is in a moment where it is taking public comments on revising and streamlining their process on how you can process and how people can bring complaints or charges of discrimination against their employers. That is an important thing. Well, nothing has changed yet. It's just a comment period. It's a very important thing as you as an employer to know and be aware of. What I think I heard the term audit used here, and it's always a great time to take a look in stock of what are our policies. We talked about pay transparency. We've heard that a couple of times. Everyone now knows or should know that you've got to be putting on your job descriptions. It was great. Look at old job descriptions that aren't there. You don't want to get caught in that. But make sure you're putting there. Your employees do talk. So they talk about you, okay? I'll let you in on that right there. So it's good to know, to make sure that you are aware of what is out there. How can we get it? Train your managers, okay? Make sure that they are talking to their employees as well. So I think at the beginning of the year is always a great time to take stock of that, look at your policies, talk to your managers, make sure that they're aware of these sort of shifting things that are going on. So communication, and lastly, I'm just going to say this in the pay transparency, because when you look at that, your people are talking, doing a pay audit is sometimes a fabulous thing to do if you haven't done it, because we didn't touch on, if you are paying employee A, who is a male, $20,000, and you're paying employee B, who is a female, and you're paying her $10,000, raise your hand if you think that's appropriate under the law. I love this group right here, okay? So it's not. So if we're doing that audit to make sure that you're paying everybody in a non-discriminatory fashion is a great thing. So I think beginning of the year, you've got so many changes that are coming. I spend most of my time advising employers about these changes coming down the pike. It's a great time to take stock of that. So that's what I would say.
lots of information, and as you can all tell, there's a lot more behind all of that too. So I want to congratulate our panel for being exactly on time. It says right here in this book, 12:58, and right up there, it says 12:58. So great job. Thank you all very much, and thank you all for your
Thank you, Dean John Dugan, and thank you to our panelists. A round of applause again. They were fantastic. I'm sure a lot of you are sitting there saying, oh my gosh. I gotta go check with our HR folks, make sure we're in compliance. It's now my pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker, Senator Michael J. Broderick, who is represented the 1st Bristol and Plymouth District since 2010, and currently serves as chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. People usually say the powerful Senate Ways and Means Committee. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's very important work that the senator does for the state of Massachusetts. He is a graduate of UMass Dartmouth, president and treasurer of his family's small business, and a respected legislative leader from nearby Westport, whose work continues to shape Massachusetts' economic future. Please join me in welcoming the senator.
Thank you very much, Doug. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here at Stonehill with my, I was going to say old friend, Chris Cooney, longtime friend, a fellow Westporter. I started my career in government service as a member of the Town of Westport Finance Committee way back in 1986. And Chris was a young school committee member that used to appear before me advocating for his school budget. Remember those days? Great to see you. And of course with my good friend and colleague and fellow member of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, Senator Mike Brady. It's always good to get to hear from Senator Brady. And to see some friends in the audience whom I haven't seen in a long time. Look at you, Mary. It's great to see you. And so many other great friends here. So thank you all very much for inviting me. As Doug said, I am the state senator from the 1st Bristol and Plymouth District, which comprises of 7 communities, 185,000 people in southeastern Massachusetts, Westport, Fall River, Somerset, Swansea, Freetown, Lakeville, and Rochester. A very geographic and socially, economically diverse district, which makes my job so much fun in working on the diversity of issues. But in my role since February of 2019, I served as the Senate Chair of the Committee on Ways and Means. What does Ways and Means mean? It means that any piece of legislation that has a fiscal impact on the Commonwealth flows through the Ways and Means Committee. Of course, the most important piece of legislation we deal with every year is the state's operating budget. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but an example of some of the other pieces of legislation that flows through the Ways and Means Committee. Just last evening, Senator Brady and I passed some landmark literacy legislation that's going to require that our school systems, and 2/3 of them already do, but they actually offer reading curriculum that is scientifically, evidentially based curriculum, because as much as we pride ourselves of having the #1 K-12 education system in the country here in Massachusetts, we're slipping. We're slipping for a couple of reasons, one of which is our reading scores are slipping, and we've discovered that there's some curriculum out there that really doesn't meet the standards. So that's something, because it does have a fiscal impact. We actually appropriated $25 million in order to help and assist the communities that are going to implement this new curriculum in complying So that's just another example of a piece of legislation that comes through the Committee on Ways and Means, and there are like 700 bills waiting on the committee right now as I speak that we're looking at. But first and foremost, what we work on is the state budget. That's the number one issue. The governor filed her, what we call House 2, because it's the second year of session. House 2 budget on Wednesday stands about $62 billion. What I always say about governor's budgets, and by the way, I've been in office for 30 years. I'm on my 7th governor, both Democrat and Republican. They're all governor's budgets are the same. They're more of a political statement than a practicable document. What that means is that a governor's budget is a proposal. It is based on a series of assumptions, assuming we pass these new laws to generate new revenue, assuming we pass these new taxes, assuming, then this is the amount of revenue we can assume to have to spend in the budget. We in the legislature, and we'll start with the House. House always goes first on money bills. We in the legislature do not pass our budget based on assumptions. We base them on facts. Not that we would not adopt some of the proposals that the governor is assuming we would do, but there's no guarantee. So at the end of the day, by the end of April, the House of Representatives will pass its version of the fiscal year 27 budget. It's going to be about $62 billion. What's a few $100 million amongst friends, right? But it's about $62 billion. Then it comes over to us in the Senate. Senator Brady and I and our colleagues will spend the month of May debating the budget. We will pass our version of the FY27 budget by the end of May, and then the real work begins, because hopefully by July 1, by the start of the fiscal year, we will send to the governor a budget that has been through conference committee. And this will be my 7th budget, 8th budget. Last year was a record 7 budgets that I co-wrote with Representative Mikowitz. This is another record 8 budgets that I'm going to write, and I always say I fully understand why the life expectancy of a Ways and Means chair is 3, maybe 4 budgets. It's pretty overwhelming, but 80% of the House and Senate budget is going to be identical. But we need to send a 100% identical piece of legislation to the governor for her consideration, and give her an opportunity. She does have line item veto power. She can return it with amendments. She can strike sections. We have the ability in the legislature to override the vetoes. It takes a supermajority vote at that time, a 2/3 vote, and hopefully we'll get that done by July 1, and then we'll be off to the races already, starting to write the FY28 budget. It doesn't stop. Couple things to note in the budget. We, back in December, we formally started writing the budget for FY27 by conducting what we call consensus revenue hearings, where I, representing the Senate, Representative Mikowitz, House Chair of Ways and Means, representing the House, and Secretary Matt Gorkowitz, representing the administration as Secretary of Administration and Finance, or we call it A&F. We convene a full day public hearing. We invite a bunch of experts who we lovingly call our talking heads, economic experts, to come to testify, to present to us what they forecast as revenue growth to happen in the following fiscal year. We did reach consensus of revenue growth of 2.9% for FY27. The governor uses that revenue growth to build her budget proposal. We use that same revenue growth as we build our proposals. 2.9% is about average revenue growth. It's not, we prefer 4 to 6%, but that's not happening right now. Big concern of ours, as we heard from our HR professionals and others, is healthcare. So $62 billion budget. Anyone want to guess what the number 1 line item is in the budget? Healthcare, mass health, right? Medicaid. Close to $20 billion, about 37% of our state budget is healthcare, growing at a rate of about 11%. annually, right? HR folks, that's about what the rate of healthcare is growing. If revenues are growing totally by 2.9%, but 37% of your budget alone is growing by 11%, it causes problems. The second biggest line item in the budget is something called Chapter 70, K through 12 education. Chris's days on the school committee, you were pre-Chapter 70, right? You were pre-education reform when you served on the school committee. That it grows by a formula. The Student Opportunity Act, we are in the last year of a 7-year implementation of a new K through 12 education funding formula. So that's formula based. That's the second largest line item. But I can tell you that in the world of education and in the world of transportation, we're in good shape because we have this fair share surplus, the fair share so-called millionaire's tax, right? The 4% surtax that's applied to all adjusted gross incomes over $1 million per year is dedicated to public education and public transportation. It generates just shy of $3 billion in revenue. So we've almost created this world of have and have-nots. If you're in the world of education, in transportation, you're in pretty good shape, right? You never get everything you want. There's never enough to satisfy all needs, but you're pretty good. The real crisis or the real stress is on not all the human service world. DMH, Department of Mental Health, Department of Developmental Disabilities, Department of Transitional Assistance, Department of Children and Families, all the HHS, Health and Human Service world. So that's where the challenges are going to be in adequately funding those accounts to provide for the needs of the citizens of the Commonwealth. But I'm sure we'll rise to the occasion. I'm lucky I have a great partner in Chair Aaron Michaelwitz. I always joke that we were both appointed respective chairs on the very same day, on the 14th of February, 2019. What's February 14th? Valentine's Day. So I always joke Valentine's morning I wake up after I wish my wife happy Valentine's Day, I'll text Chair Michaelwitz and say happy anniversary. He beat me this year. He's never up before me. I'm from Westport. I got to put the chickens, but but he beat me. But it's a real pleasure to work with him. I think it's generally recognized in Massachusetts. The legislature actually functions well. It functions bipartisanly. Even though we are a supermajority Democrat in the Senate, there are 35 Democrats and 5 Republicans. But you ask any of the Republican senators, they'll tell you that they have full access, they have full input, they have full participation, and they're very, very happy with how the process works in the Massachusetts legislature. We have partisan differences, certainly, but we're always on the same page. The bill last night, the early literacy bill was passed unanimously, and it was a big piece of legislation. The minority leader. So as chair of Ways and Means, I'm responsible for leading debate for the majority party, right? So I'm leading because 95% of all the bills come through my committee, so I have to present them on the floor. I debate and have conversations with the minority leader, Senator Bruce Todd from Gloucester. Probably one of the best orators there are, so it's difficult debating him. He's really, really good on his feet, but he's also a very, very good friend. He had 4 of his amendments adopted last night. Go down to DC and Congress, do you think the minority party would get 4 of their amendments adopted in debate? It would never happen. Well, Bruce, Senator Todd, got 4. Why? Because they were good ideas. Right? It was really good ideas, and he made the bill much better by adding his amendments to them. So I'm happy to take questions if anyone's got any questions for me. There's a lot going on. Oh, you got some already?
Yes, I can just read them.
You'll get through.
You can sit if you like.
I'd rather stand up.
You gotta stand, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to take the spotlight. I want to take the
Go
spotlight.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, what changes of note are there for the business community in the Senate, something government, newly released fiscal year budget for 2027? So what will the new budget I'm sure you're working on all this, but how does that help the
I
business
can
community?
we haven't written it yet, so we don't know. So the governor proposed her budget. We are in the process now of, we being in Senate Ways and Means, let me explain how it works a little bit. So $62 billion budget, it's pretty big. It's the largest operational budget of any organization in New England by far. It's about the same size budget as UPS Corporation. We have 11 fiscal analysts that work in my committee. My good friend, who just retired from a career at UPS, he's the one that told me, made the comparison. I said, do you run your budget with 11 fiscal analysts? He goes, no, maybe 1,100, fiscal analysts, but each fiscal analyst has a portfolio of accounts that he or she are responsible for. There's a fiscal analyst on education, one on public safety, one on judiciary, one on transportation, on and on and on and on. They're in a process now of meeting and talking to all of the state agencies and departments, getting their maintenance books, right, getting their workbooks. We actually have a form that they fill out so that we know what they will need for maintenance schedules, maintenance budgets. We are meeting with outside agencies, departments, or human service organizations that are very reliant on state funds. So we're putting all that together. So we do not have a budget proposal to talk about. That will not come until April for the Senate. As far as the business community goes, our global focus right now, and everything we talk about in debate, is on affordability and competitiveness. Everything gets worked through that lens. We know utility costs are a big issue topic, not only of the business community, but also residential consumers, utilities, food, heating, housing, labor costs. So everything is focused under that lens. Big picture affordability issues. One that we tackled was affordability of higher education. I don't know what the tuition is at Stonehill College. Expensive, but right now, every single student in Massachusetts can go to a community college for free, without tuition or without fees, and start their higher education institution at community colleges. There's great pressure put on all of our institutions of higher education, smaller liberal arts institutions that we pride ourselves so much on in Massachusetts are really under stress and strain because of pure demographics. There are less students. Our enrollment in our community colleges have risen over 20% FTEs, providing that opportunity and addressing a real need, a real issue that we heard from our constituents, right, of, yeah, my kids, or I'm going to college, but I'm graduating with six-figure debt. I'm graduating with a mortgage. I'm never going to be able to have a real mortgage to buy a house because I'm graduating with this debt. So that's something that we addressed. But we work, as far as business community, we work very closely with our chambers of commerce. We work very, very closely with AIM, the Associated Industries of Massachusetts. We work very closely with an organization led by a gentleman by the name of J.D. Chesloff, the Mass Business Roundtable. Especially the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, led by Jim Rooney, is very focused on transportation, as you can imagine, in the MBTA. Those of us that do not live in Boston, we are always very sensitive to regional equity in where we make our investments and investing in our RTAs, not just the MBTA. But know that the business community is on our mind all the time.
Thank you.
Yep.
The community college tuition is a great thing, and we actually have a lot of students end up transferring into the college through community colleges. It is great. What's the biggest concern, biggest economic risk, do you think, facing Massachusetts right now? I know the governor, when she did her budget the other day, she talked about they were trying to, anticipate some of the federal cuts and how can we make this all work. But where do you think that is, and sort of what keeps you up at night on, our future that way?
Healthcare. The cost of healthcare is what keeps me up at night. When 37% of our budget is growing at a 11-12% clip, and our revenues total are only growing at less than 3%, that's what keeps me up at night. The governor did make some proposals in her budget for some changes, but and healthcare is a big item in the budget. We have, first of all, Mass Health and Medicaid, which is health insurance for seniors, low-income individuals, children, people with disabilities. That's Massachusetts residents are living longer with higher medical needs and higher acuity, and just the general cost of healthcare is rising, right? We see it in our private insurance rates. We see it in a line item that we have called GIC, Group Insurance Commission, which is the state's insurance policy for its state employees. I get my health insurance through a GIC plan. That's growing about 11% per year. So that's what keeps me up at night, and that's what, how do you fix that? Do you reduce eligibility? Do you cut benefits? Do you reduce reimbursement rates to hospitals and healthcare providers, which, by the way, are hurting? You ask any hospital or healthcare provider, no, you can't cut our rates. You tell your loved one that's in a nursing home that you're no longer, you've got to spend down all the rest of you're going to get reduced benefits. So there's no easy fix for any of that, but tough decisions are going to happen. But that's just not happening in Massachusetts. Healthcare around the country, I won't get on my soapbox about the fact that the United States is the only industrialized country in the world does not have government-based universal health care. And I know that scares so many people because, God, we can't have government administering health care. Well, government administers about 40% of health care anyway through Mass Health and Medicare. Mass Health and Medicare overhead administrative expenses is about 5.5%. Private health insurance is 27%. So, there is a lot of money not being paid for health care in your private health care insurance premiums. A lot of money. I don't know what the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield makes. How many tens of millions? 15, 20 million? I don't know. All those things. So, but that's a debate that's not going to get solved in this, especially under this current administration. We can't even get out of its own way, right? That's not going to get solved. But that's a debate that I see this country having someday, looking around the rest of the world and saying, how come the whole world can get it, and if we can afford to have health insurance, the only thing worse than not being able to afford to buy health insurance is having health insurance and not being able to afford to use it because of the high deductibles and co-pays. So that's what keeps me up at night. Only because I don't have any answers.
Just one final question. Infrastructure investments for southeastern Massachusetts to help with business growth.
Yeah.
We said the commuter rail go all the way down to Bedford, I guess. Is there anything else on the table that you're aware of or could be helpful to southeastern Massachusetts?
Lots of transportation infrastructure investments. Keep in mind that we cannot use state dollars to improve private property. So we cannot build upon or support private property investments. What we do is public infrastructure. What we do is roadways, is water, it's sewage, it's public safety infrastructure around facilities to help a community if they want to develop a new office industrial park. Right now, the whole world is about housing, right? It's building more housing. So there's lots of infrastructure money available for new housing developments. There's programs and monies available to assist the communities that where housing developments are being built to help with their education infrastructure. Because I think it was Secretary of A&F under Mitt Romney, a guy by the name of Eric Chris, that said, the problem with housing is kids are nuclear, right? Nobody wants children in their communities because they have children, then they got to spend their schools, and schools are too expensive, so nobody wants kids. I'm just the opposite, the more the merrier, But anyway, but we've addressed that. We've something called Chapter everyone knows about Chapter 40B, but this is something called Chapter 40R and Chapter 40S that actually provides financial assistance to communities to ensure that there's no additional burden to their town budgets when they have additional children in their school system from these developments. So there's quite a bit. We fund infrastructure different than we fund operating expenses. So the budget that I'm talking about, that we're in the process of writing now, the $62 billion budget, is operating money, right? It's paying, keeping the lights on, paying payroll and salary, all that for operating. Usually infrastructure is paid for through bond bills. You hear that term all the time, a transportation bond, a courthouse bond, a higher educational infrastructure bond. That means it's bonding. That means we go out and borrow money. It's for long-term capital investments, right? We build a new bridge, we don't pay for it all at once. We bond for that, right? We build a new courthouse, we bond for that over a period of time. So that's where we do the investments in infrastructure. We have a bond bill that's going to hit our plate in the next few weeks, the environmental bond bill, EBB. That's where water and sewer infrastructure is generally funded from bonds. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that.
I think that question also is driving towards ADUs and septic systems. Will there be money? The governor recently mentioned that she's going to try to address this issue of adding more housing by encouraging septic system renovations. Is there any money?
Yes, there is a lot of money in public septic systems. Remember, not private property. So I live in the town of Westport. We don't have public, right? So we have Title V. How many here live in communities with Title V? Yep, so there is something we can do, a Title V tax credit that we tripled this year, right? We tripled Title V tax credit. There's no actual grants, but a tax credit's like a grant, and you have multiple years to use it. And there's a lot of money in the SRF, the state's revolving fund for water and sewer infrastructure. But ADUs are taken off. It really is a success. One of the challenges, though, is, especially if you live in communities like I do, where you have a Title V system that's only so big, and you want to put another bedroom on your house, is whether or not the septic system complies with that. My friends in the city don't understand that. What the hell's that? What do you mean? We don't have sewers. We have Title V systems. So, but yeah. Good.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
As a small token of our appreciation, you have this pen. And you can sign something very important.
I will sign the FY27 Conference Committee report with this pen, and Kyle, my legislative aide, will take a photo. We'll send it to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations on getting the legislation passed for the new reading programs throughout the state. If you haven't had a chance to understand it, it's about what's called the science of reading, which is literally is a scientific approach on how to teach reading. How do I know this? My wife was a public educator for 40 years, and she was a reading specialist in her community, and every night I would hear about the science of reading. So if you have any questions, come on by, but it's really important in our ability to teach. It's a great investment in our children. So before we end our program for today, there's just a few announcements and our door prizes. So first of all, I'd like to share with everyone the Chamber cordially invites you to attend a special Good Morning Metro South edition, February 12th at 8:45 a.m. at the all-new Garner Hotel, which is over by the Westgate Mall. Is that correct? Brand new. There's actually 2 new hotels over there, right? Yeah, so this one is brand new. You're invited. We'll hear from FIFA regarding the upcoming world-class soccer games that are going to be hosted in Massachusetts. And the Mayor of Brockton, as he lays out his thoughts on strengthening businesses throughout the city, celebrating the opening of new businesses, such as the 2 new hotels at Westgate, and yes, in YES, which is, yes, and yes, oh, I get it, okay. And yes, the technical aspects, I don't know if you should get on this path, but of snow plowing from the city streets as he was reporting on during the recent storm. It seems like you can never win on snow plowing, but I'm glad he's going to address it. So each Good Day Metro South, we like to offer door prizes to attendees today. We have 2 prizes. If selected, please see Hannah McGuire. There's Hannah in the back. She has her hand up to collect your prize. Door prize number 1, an Action Report business profile and a $25 American Express gift card goes to Mike Damon of BATS, BAT. Mike. Congratulations. Keep the card, do the business report, share that with Mike. Door prize number 2, a $200 gift card courtesy of Rockland Federal Credit Union. That goes to Joanne Hoops, Family and Community Resources. Joanne, it's a big win. Congratulations. A few thank yous. A sincere thank you to today's ambassador team, Rich Morgan Photography, Brockton Community Access Channel, thank you. The Enterprise News, Chamber staff Chris, Hannah, and Emma, and special thanks to our friends at Stonehill College, John Dugan, and Katie Carl Dykeman, who could not be with us today. And of course, thank you to all of our speakers and panelists. I invite our panelists, our senators, to come on up to the front. We'd like to take a few pictures with you before you depart. Thank you for joining with us today. Please travel safely home. Have a wonderful weekend. And get ready for the Patriots, week from Sunday.